Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial party is battling Tyranids aboard the Dream of Flight. Attikus proved to be epically deadly with his fists. Eli found great satisfaction in blasting the hated Xenos. Morgan took a toll on the enemy with her sniper rifle, and Valentyne sang inspiration to his team. But what will happen now that they've discovered Cainhurst is controlling the Tyranids? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
Overheard during the mounting of a sign above a tavern on Last Gleaming. Pardon me, my lord, but may I ask why you're calling it the Clone Wing? Easy, my friend. I've got a dream of flight. Inquisitor Cainhurst, or what is left of him, emerges from the cargo hold. Beyond it, you can see what is best described as a Resident Evil-sized nonsense lab of all of the equipment from the hospital ship that has been rigged up into just a massive, spindly nightmare that would make the Ordos Mechanicus just vomit in binary and rage at how messy and ill-kempt this is. There is no cabling to be seen. It is just truly a mishmash of nightmare machines. But quite clearly an incubator for the nightmares that you now face. From the video screens, you can see that Cainhurst is essentially, or parts of him, seem to be stretched over a Xenos carapace, what appears to be almost a giant Frankenstein monster of Tyranid bits. For those of us who've had the pleasure of actually fucking around with Warhammer models, it's a little bit like that one kid who shows up at a tournament being like, well, I just thought it was cool, so I glued it all together. There are limbs where there should not be limbs, scythes where there weren't scythes before. But truly a monstrous creature with massive leathery wings, huge scythes kind of extending out of his shoulders, massive mandible jaw of a head that moves just a little too slowly, and a mouth that kind of opens and shuts and moves, but not quite in sync with what's being said. You can tell that it's a nervous system that is rigged to Cainhurst, but that isn't really fully in sync. He's not speaking through the vocal cords of this monster, but it almost seems like a bad puppet. His face and head are certainly embedded just kind of roughly where an Adam's apple would be, in that awful face-stretched way that some of the Chaos miniatures do ever so well. But if you've played Dead Space, think that if that fucked a Tyranid and its kid was Tom Hanks, then you got yourself this. So just Chet Hanks, really, just basically Chet Hanks. So he takes pretty much not quite floor to ceiling. He's not that tall, but he is very, very large and imposing, and sort of standing over the horde before him. And of the many kind of disassociated arms, some of which are at the wrong angle and are kind of angled incorrectly for their position on the torso. Several sets of the arms are steepled in classic Mr. Burns fashion. As Cainhurst kind of slithers forward. Now, of course, he's out there and you're in here, so that's great. That is an advantage that you have. But beyond that, it's time to get talking.
You were saying the combatants in the hallway have frozen, Tom? They're not coming at us?
They have stopped. So it's not like they're stocked still, like robots that got turned off. They're still moving around a little bit. It's more so that they almost seem like they're at attention or kind of waiting for instructions. If you were to, say, start trying to kill them, they would likely just like fall back. Like they're not just going to stand there mindlessly and
Get murdered.
like
Yeah.
halt.
Well,
So I can say
I was gonna say,
get a
and
few.
Let me
Attikus
tell
is-
you, buddy, they're falling back.
I was going to say, Attikus punched
Test
us a
that.
gap, I think, a second ago anyway. So Valentyne would just tell everyone, hold position, friends. Things appear to have gotten slightly more interesting. And he will send Eugene to fly out and down so that he can talk to Cainhurst directly. And he's also buying Kotov time to continue to sort out what we need to be able to detonate this ship. And he'll say to Morgan as Eugene is flying out, just, do you have any tips for dealing with Cainhurst or whatever Cainhurst has become? I'm unfamiliar with the man.
Yeah, so Morgan and Eli, your old Inquisitor is alive and unwell. How are both of you kind of feeling in this moment? I think the suspicion that he may have been still kicking was probably floating around, but probably not like not like this.
Eli has a bit of a moment of surprise, and then just turns to Morgan and says, "Well, I guess we know why he didn't come back for us."
Cool, Morgan. How are you feeling about
Yeah, Morgan,
new Inquisitor?
I think she is a bit freaked out. She never liked him, and she never liked the way that he operated. But I think seeing, an Inquisitor be this fucked up is even more upsetting, because she already didn't trust a lot of the other people in the Inquisition from being at Hearthold and seeing kind of the shit that happens. But this is even more like, oh my god, come on. Is anybody cool in the Inquisition? This is like... And Morgan will reply to Valentyne just, well, apparently none of us knew him.
All right, we're starting off cold. And he'll just wait for Eugene to, fly out the door. Just say, greetings, Inquisitor Cainhurst. I am Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne. I am impressed, I will admit, by your ability to control these Xenos. And I am curious about what you are doing here and how you knew I was coming.
Well, that, my friend, seems like unless you're being genuine, in which case it's a different thing. But is that flattery, or is that legit? Are you legitimately impressed by his Xenos command?
Realistically, Valentyne's careful in that he didn't say, "Hey, love your job strapping yourself to an alien," because that seems fucked up. But the ability to control Tyranids from an Inquisitorial perspective is indeed fascinating and perhaps highly useful and critical to Imperial interests. What he's not saying is, I also saw the psychic door completely fuck them up, so I think if the Nids get anywhere near you, you're just going to get steamrolled into being part of the hive mind. He's leaving that out. So it's not a lie. It's just he's leaving out about 30% of the truth.
Okay, so I think then we'll go with charm. Seems the most appropriate. I think we're going to say this is a difficulty 3.
Okie dokie.
I'm going to give you a boost for exactly what we just described. The fact that it's easier to lie when you actually can put some weight behind it. And you see the application. Maybe it's not what you would buy for yourself for your home, but you get it. It works for some people, and that's fine.
If this is a lie, and it kind of is, would you accept deception instead of charm?
Based on the way you described it just now, I don't know if it's cunning, so yes, sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. You win because of the skill associated with it. I feel like this is still probably, honestly, this would, in D&D terms, this would be like a diplomacy check, I think, more than anything. But
yeah,
you are using your cunning because you're flattering him and you're appealing to his sense of megalomania pretty clearly. So, great. Okay, so you get a boost for that. Would Valentyne worry about Attikus and his reaction to you doing this, or would you just trust that he'll follow your lead?
Valentyne is talking through Eugene, so Attikus doesn't really have access to the microphone, and the enemy is far away, and odds of Attikus charging away from a safe position to somewhere else tactically is there. So he's not going to say anything. He also doesn't know if he says anything if the aliens on the ship can hear it and whether or not Cainhurst can hear it.
Yeah,
so he's just going to play this one straight.
Just as a reminder, Cainhurst has hacked the ship's comms, so he's speaking to you through all of the speakers. And
well, then he's definitely not saying anything out loud.
Okay, so you can just like vocalize to Eugene. Eugene can repeat.
Well, I mean, if it's like activating the comm to Eugene, and then he can let go of the button. Like nobody else has access to Eugene.
Oh, I see. Yes. No one can speak. Yes. But they're hearing what you, Valentyne, are saying in room because
yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Cool. Okay, great. So that's fine. So no setback for that. I am going to give you a setback for. There's a lot of digital interference. This is like a bad Zoom connection to some extent. You can feel your voice clipping in and out. It's something that you haven't had time to investigate because it's literally just happened, but it seems that kind of like whatever he's using to overwhelm the systems on the ship is potent to a point where it's interfering with even your short range comms to Eugene. And I would say like your eyes are probably getting like you've got a lot of ability to just disregard things that interfere with your like brain and your optics and your situational awareness. So I think it's reasonable to think that this isn't actually impeding you, but you're getting artifacts again, like a bad video feed.
Yeah, I mean, he can't guarantee what's getting through to Cainhurst. Like, he knows what he can say, and that's definitely...
For sure, yeah. And I think, again, because of your conditioning, it's like, even if something was happening with your optics, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, what's happening to my eyes? You'd just be like, all right, I can see around it. It's just the Ace Ventura head out the window thing, where it's like, well, the window's fucked, but that's fine. I got options. So that's fine. So no setbacks for that. One setback for...
Yep, for the comms challenges.
The comms issue, but you're not impeded other than that. I'm going to give you a single boost just from what you've, like, I know you said that you don't know anything about Cainhurst, but like you've kind of encountered bits and pieces along the way, and you certainly know Morgan and Eli. So I think that gives you an in, at least.
And this retroactively explains a lot of the evidence he had seen. So like he has an idea of the crimes being committed, which can let him extrapolate, in his the law and order Imperial Victims Unit. Like he can just, he's seeing the mind crimes. He knows the design.
IVU. Man, that show really went downhill when Eisenhorn left. I just thought that him and what's her name were just really a good duo, and then she stayed on and he left to do his own show, which is the opposite of the books, I think. So, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. All right. Cool. That's all good. In terms of story points, I believe we're sitting at, oh man, I've written too many numbers down.
I have 4 for us and 1 for you.
Okay, that was the most recent one. For those of you watching and listening at home, my very, very scientific way of tracking this is up the margin of the notebook I write in. I just write 2 out of 3, 3 out of 2. And then I write a box around them, which is my indicator that this is the most recent one. All of them have boxes around them because they were all at one point the most recent one. Incidentally, 4 and 1 is the only one that doesn't have a box, and that one was right. So fuck me, I guess.
Use the box to eliminate them. That'll be your new system.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. You see, good system. That's why I can't use it. If I don't have a minor panic attack every time I look at this notebook, am I really playing Genesis? So with all that in mind, Ryan, I think that's it. So let's roll. And again, this isn't like necessarily a life or death thing. This is social combat, so there will be some strain getting kicked around, which is a system we rarely touch in this game.
5 advantage.
5 advantage. Okay, cool. So from that, you can... I'm just going to read off some things you can possibly do. Like I'm Laura last session.
Great.
You can learn the desire or fear of the target character. If you really want to learn what he's about. You can conceal your true goal to the encounter. You can learn the true goal of your target if your target has one. You can learn the strength or flaw of the target character. You can add a setback or a boost to an active.
Okay, how much does it cost me to do the concealing and revealing goal thing?
That's 3. So with your 2 remaining, you can either learn a strength or flaw, or you can pull a setback, a bonus, or like funny third thing.
So it's 3 for me to hide mine. It's 3 for me to learn his. It's 2 for me to do the other shit.
Yes, but you can learn. Sorry, you can learn strength or flaw for 2.
Great.
Intention or goal is 3.
Cool. I want to learn his goal because that's 100% what Valentyne is trying to do. Because you can really only flatter an ego when you know what is important to that ego. And then for 2, he would also like to figure out his weakness. He has very specific goals.
And like fingers crossed, like please say weakness, please say weakness.
Yeah, you're just hoping for like the House of the Dead style. Like he's got one big red pulsing heart on his like shoulder. The old Dark Souls target. Like, oh man,
and it's power fist sized.
Yeah, exactly. Like I am perfection, but every so often I have to lean forward to punching distance for reasons. Don't worry about it. Don't cut the ring off my fingers. Ah, tits, you did it. Ah, jeez. My horoscope was right. Okay, so there's a deep chuckle from outside, and like that friendly, like America's dad way that only Tom Hanks can really pull off. And he just says, well, let's be honest now. I think you're probably a little more, how should we put this? Thinking about ways to execute me for heresy than just purely impressed by my abilities here. But, I got to say, I do appreciate you recognizing the value of my work, at least, rather than just, yelling burn, heretic, burn, as some of our more zealous colleagues would do. But I somewhat doubt your intentions. And he kind of pauses, and you hear like a squelch, and you can see him attempt to do like a wry knowing grin, which is really just like a flap of mouth just pulling tight across his chest bone. That like last human from Doctor Who, but shot through a lens of H.R. Geiger is kind of a good mold for how his face works. So he says, based on your 3 advantage spend. No,
sorry, now in my thank you for bringing up H.R. Geiger, because now he just has penises all over him. It's okay.
Now? Yeah. Always. So he, with his attempt at a wry smile, I'm
just imagining Eli being like, those are dicks. just pointing in the...
You madman. That's too many dicks.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing I've learned. One can never have too many dicks. So he regards you and he says, now, I feel like I do owe you somewhat of an explanation, given that you didn't just try and immediately kill me on sight. Seems only reasonable. And quite frankly, I'm just a little bit tickled that you brought a couple of old friends back to me. I ordered my legions here to stop when I saw you brought, the bringer of my specimens and the key to my technology back to me. It's always nice when old tools show up. And Morgan, Eli, good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you enjoyed the bar. But Valentyne, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, what Ordos are you there, bud?
Ordo Hereticus. So this is all a bit, shall we say, out of my expertise.
Cora is like fucking foaming at the mouth mad about all this, but he's holding her tongue for now.
Wise.
We'll see how our next roll goes.
Wise, Valentyne thinks.
It says, all right. So, I mean, you're probably used to some of your compatriots, your colleagues getting just a little too close to, the temptations of the enemy, right? That's a thing we see all the time. Someone decides, hey, it'd be great if I could hold this book with a tentacle. Before you know it, we're in there purging with fire. And you know what? Frankly, they deserve it, because demons shouldn't be trifled with. But humanity has always stood, in many cases, literally a head and shoulder above the Xenos. They are biological engineering perfected, but intellectually, I mean, they just can't hold a candle to us Terrans. And, I just thought it was about time we corrected that. So, as you can see, and he like gestures with a bunch of little tiny arms, but also the wings and also the scythes, but it really... It doesn't give a grand like Knights King arm raise effect so much as just like a bunch of like random arm gestures kind of occurring from around his body. When he says, I've always been fascinated by the Tyranids, specifically amongst all of the Xenos. Their hive mind, their bioengineering. And hey, I mean, they figured out how to engineer us. And that got me thinking, if they can do that to us, why can't we just do that to them? And as you can see from the results of my work, it turned out pretty well. And all of the Tyranids around you kind of salute in unison. And it's a very like imperial Aquila style salute. And he says, so, when we've got demons out there, the enemy, I mean, you look at this old Hulk we're on, this ship was overrun by Khornate berserkers. They killed everyone on board. Turns out they took the blood for the blood gut thing real literally, emptied out the blood bank, took the skulls for the skull throne thing really literally, took all the skulls, and then they just left. Just left all these bodies, all this great biomass just here. All this machinery just here. No care for anything. It's sloppy. It's wasteful. So, I got to thinking, if we're going to stand a chance against such a threat, well, we need to improve ourselves. And, I respect our friends in the Adeptus Astartes, but there's just not nearly enough of them. So why not just grow our own? Why do we need old schematics to tell us how to make power armor when we can just grow it ourselves? And I think the answers speak for themselves. Think of how fast you would have mowed down Imperial Guard if they came to meet you. But look at these lads. They're doing great. Except for your friend with the power fist. But really, who stands against that? And he taps his body just a little bit as he says it. And it is an alarmingly thick-sounding carapace. So maybe him. The implication is rather clear. And he says, so, I thought of everything. Well, everything except for one little detail that was a little too late by the time I got done with all my improvements. And that's that, I wouldn't you know it, I can't fly in space. It's real embarrassing for me. But of all the things I didn't account for, I saw these massive wings. I thought of the dream of human flight that our ancestors had. They took their first steps out of the caves in Terra. And wouldn't you know it, by the time I was done, I drained my engine dry, and this old thing can't fly for shit. So, and unfortunately, we dealt rather harshly with the tugs that brought us out here. We couldn't, of course, have someone just bumbling in here and executing us as heretics. So,
Eli would like to interrupt.
Sure.
Just because he's been listening to all this. He has just a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions. But the only thing that makes it out is, what? Did you think for a second those wings were going to push the non-air in space?
I mean, he's not talking through Eugene, but might be able to hear through the ship. So I don't know.
I was going to say, Valentyne doesn't have the mic on, but,
yeah.
So
I don't know if he hears it, but he definitely yells it.
He chuckles and he says, Eli, the other mistake I made was I didn't keep you around long enough to point out such flaws. I had some of the best bioengineers. Just,
How long you been doing this, Cainhurst?
Oh, this old thing?
Were you doing this when we were with you?
Valentyne is now going to be very clearly signaling to Eli to shut the fuck up.
Just the saddest crevice of a frown, and all of the nids, like you can see variations of what would probably be a frown on all of their kind of horrible termagant and homogant. I hate it.
Hormagant.
Hormagant. Nikolaus.
Nikolaus.
On all their faces, and he just says, "Oh, Eli, no, yeah. What did you think you were for? We didn't vent your ship. That's where I got all my samples from. You created just a perfect harvesting ground for me. I mean, once you convinced, you vented all the air. We just went in. We collected all the samples. You and I were having drinks. Actually, my crew was at work. That never sat right with me because I know you took a lot of shit for that later for making that decision. But I mean, I don't know why you should really be so mad. This is actually a bit of a reunion for you. A bunch of your old shipmates are here. And
he is biting his tongue after that.
They're just like various limbs that raise from the hallway
Valentyne.
and like outside. And he just says, "Yeah, no, you guys were both great for what I needed from you. I mean, I was trying to get samples from our Xenos compatriots back on Last Gleaming, but they just kept giving me hollowed out skulls, which were completely useless. So I just left them in storage because who needs that? You brought me my samples, and Morgan here was the key to unlocking the last piece. Because here's the problem: you look at how the Tyranids work, right? They've got their hive mind; they can just control everything. That's great, but you need a way to speak to the Tyranids, and Plum didn't have that, but your cultist friends, Morgan, they figured out how to talk to things that one normally can't talk to. So that was great. I just needed the speech coding that they'd scarred into your back there in order to just, it was like, you heard the old stories of the Rosetta Stone in ancient Terran lore. It was like that. That's what you did for me. Rest assured also that cult is gone now. I wiped them out. It seemed only fair. So also you're welcome, Ordo Malleus, doing your job for you. But between the two of you, you gave me exactly what I needed. And I do apologize I left you on last gleaming, but really you were done there. So all that to say, Valentyne, I've been stuck here for a long time, and I've got a lot of help for the Imperium. And I'm really eager to just start spreading the good word and making sure that humanity takes its next halting, clicking, clawing steps forward towards victory. So that's what I'm about. You know, if you had advantage, for example, that's what it would have earned you.
Great.
And
did I pick up a weakness in
I
that
was going to say, and now for a talk about
it's a
what he's
flaw,
allergic
not
to?
a weakness, and he
Okay.
can't
Flaw.
fly in space.
Can't fly in space. Got it.
It is not a pulsing target. on his
Yeah. I'm not expecting that. I just wanted to be clear on exactly what it was for my brain.
Yeah, which also answers the reason why he's just still here, because he can't leave the ship because he doesn't have a ship. So he's just hanging out.
Well, Inquisitor Cainhurst, it appears that we've reached what might be called a bit of an impasse. My goal is to leave here because I'm trying to stop a threat that is directly to the Golden Throne, a cabal that is threatening to dethrone the Emperor within the next year. You are trying to change humanity in what might be called a longer-term plan that might require the Emperor for significantly longer than that to keep the Astronomicon functioning. I'd like to leave. What do you want? And is there a way we can both get what we want?
Well, I mean, you're right. You know, it's going to take me a while, but it sounds like you're on a holy quest. And again, I really do appreciate you didn't come in here with melt-a-bombs or something and just start blowing stuff up, because, well, then I would have had to gut you, and that just seems like a waste of good humans. So, here's what I'd propose. Why don't you join me? Sync up with the hive mind. I'll put a bunch of these guys at your disposal. Eli you'll still have your retinue. They'll just all work directly for your brain. You don't have to give them orders anymore. They don't start raving about joy and hope and nonsense. And then you have to lock them in their rooms. They'll just do what you say. And it's wonderful. And I mean, look around at all of these pals I've got here. I've got thousands. I give them point values just to determine kind of how many people I have. I have thousands of points worth of, well, they're small to me, so miniatures here that operate at my beck and call.
Jesus Christ!
And if you join me, I mean, you'll just have access to this too. And I'm looking at you here. I can see your hand looks like, maybe your eyes. Like you've taken some damage, and I gotta say, it's pretty great when those things don't matter anymore.
Interesting. And he's just going to be typing some quick notes on his data pad that he has. And he's just going to hold it out to Morgan and then wander over and hold it out to the others. And it just says we're pulling the trigger on the ship, the timer, be ready to run. And then he's just going to say, all right, so from what I understand, you think we should become part of your military force and then move forwards here. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a very good idea. And at the same time, die heretic. And he's just going to hit Kotov to hit the button and fucking bolt for that hole. It's just there to get the fuck out of here.
Morgan, you've got some hands in the air. Is that just Del stress or?
This is just Del stress. This is me stress. Morgan is cool.
Fair enough. And just the biggest Tina Fey eye roll gif from Cainhurst, just whole body eye roll, and over the comms, just hear just a sigh of disappointment as Kotov slams the button and just kind of turns all and says, "Well, there it is. No one cares. No one's paying attention to it, but that's what he says." So he slams the button. Cora is smiling like it's her birthday, and she got exactly what she wanted. Immediately, there's that sound. I don't know if you've ever heard a generator overload, but it's like a weird deep bass resonant sound of electricity that's just truly alarming. And you hear that kind of rock the ship as just Kotov essentially backwashes energy through, kind of like putting a battery in the wrong way and then just like blasting a bunch of shit through it. So immediately just kind of like pulses start going out of the ship. It's not like an alarm goes off and pieces start falling off like in the movies. But you can see that he's like clearly fucked things up. There are alarms within the Dream of Flight that are suggesting that the core is starting to go critical. Outside and still kind of over the speakers under that, you can hear just like a screech from amongst the army as a bunch of them just swarm the outsides of the ship. And start funneling in. Again, like that group that was up front starts to like rush further forward. I guess my question for the group assembled is like, you've got the bolt hole. What's your order of going out? Because those who don't go out, those who do go out are going to have to contend with what's out there. Those who don't are going to have to contend with what's coming up the rear. And it is like a manhole-sized thing. So it's not like it's going to take you a long time to get through, but it's not going to take you zero time to get through. So what's the order?
I mean, we've got a rear guard functionally. Valentyne would have in his notes just been like, he's going out, Morgan's coming out right behind him, then Kotov, then Eli. Attikus will come last because he can punch whatever the fuck we're dealing with, but he can hold the longest. And then Cora will be coming out with Attikus because she's got the most Xenos experience, but it's really just because Valentyne doesn't really care if Cora makes it out as the rear guard.
Tracks.
Attikus is valuable but useful. Cora is expendable, and he likes Attikus more.
Aw, like the rest of the family. That's nice.
Fair enough. Okay, so I think what I'm going to need then is Valentyne and Morgan. You kind of like leap down together, and there are Tyranids. Like again, you've got a variety out here of what you now see are hybrids that are either humans who have been fused with a lot of like basically reverse gene stealers. It's like humans who have been like infused with a bunch of Tyranid tech. Or Tyranids that have been like grafted with human nonsense. That said, none of them are aware of the bolt hole. It's not as obvious as the back hatch, which they're currently clawing open, or any of the vents or like torpedo tubes or anything else. So it's one of those weird moments that you drop out under the ship and you can just see kind of like twisted limbs moving past you with kind of that again, very Geiger style, like extra threading of muscle and tubular kind of limbs that the Tyranid models all have that are super fun to paint. So you can sort of see all of those legs and kind of torsos. The ship is, I'd say, probably about 4 feet off the deck at a bad angle, so there's a bit of a slope. So you're a little bit crouched. I think what I need immediately, unless you're just going to start shooting the minute you hit the deck, is stealth from both of you. To see if the assembled creatures notice you or not.
It's just Valentyne and Morgan?
That's correct.
Okay.
Morgan, Valentyne, because I think he's seen your like falcon thing, probably would be with us. Valentyne will be carrying the bag because I think the bird could be useful in a way that the bag wouldn't. So he'll just sling that over his back. So your bird is free.
Yeah. And I think
kind of free bird.
Free bird.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think that Toby would be going out and up as high as he can and out first, because then she can scout like a path or see what's in front of them further along, but he would just be up and pinwheeling in the air around to check out stuff.
Okay, so before we do your rolls,
Yeah.
I'm going to roll for the swarm firing at Toby.
And then they get 2 setback because he has 2 defense when he's in the air.
Yeah. He is not a subtle birdo.
This little jet engine shooting at his ass.
But maybe that will help distract them from us sneaking underneath, is the thought.
Honestly, you are correct. So, and I'm sorry, Del, the 2 setback is from the pinwheeling?
He gets 2 defense when he is flying.
Okay, so yeah, that tracks for me. Okay. Yeah, that I'm going to spend I'm low on story points. I'm not going to spend shit. Would you guys like to spend a story point?
I mean,
for your
Valentyne
role to
isn't
shoot
spending
him?
a point on the bird.
No, birds. Toby's got to figure out his own life right now.
Not unlike his
Morgan
namesake
and
from the
Survivor.
Animorphs, he stands alone.
I was saying Morgan and Valentyne have never been more psychically linked than in the moment of sending the bird ahead to get shot at instead of them.
It's a little bit like
We
the
can
Star
fix the
Wars
bird.
droid thing, where it's like, oh yeah, droids are absolute characters and people in this world. And like R2 gets shot constantly, and they're like,
It's fine.
only C-3PO's like, oh my god, my best friend. They're like, whatever, it's cool. Computer's broken, put it in the shot.
So what is our difficulty for our stealth check, Tom?
I'm going to deal with my shit first.
Oh,
and
do
then
that
I will
first.
tell you.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So, wah, wah. So I take 3 failure and a 3 failure and a setback. So I'm going to give you a boost to one of your stealth checks.
Damn.
And yeah, they fail horrifically in their shooting of Toby. It's almost like if you are puppeteering a bunch of biomass monsters you built yourself out of vaguely willing people, and then tried to teach them to use guns that their hands aren't built for. Maybe they're not the best shots in the world. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason the Tyranid bio guns operate differently than trying to jam a clawed finger through a las rifle.
Reasonable.
So,
I will take that boost if you don't
Yes.
mind, Del,
I take
because
the boost.
Valentyne has a refractor field active, which makes him worse at stealth. So I think a distraction would be the only thing that could logically help the refractor
yeah,
field
and
be
again,
less
like
effective.
it's not like there are eyes on you.
Mhm.
Like there's no like those horrible like tarantula heads they have like under the thing like looking around yet. So even with the refractor field, like it does make you more obvious, but you're also just in a place. Like, I don't know, I've hidden crevices like this in Destiny to avoid bosses for a very long time. I had a whole debate about the Civil War under one once. Like you're pretty well fine. It's mostly the dropping to the ground piece is the issue at hand. Less for Morgan, more for you. So with that in mind, they're distracted. You can take your point of advantage. I'm going to say difficulty of 3, just because there are so many of them. So many of them. And also you kind of loudly declared that you were getting out of there.
I mean, the guy could see us on video, so he'd know no matter what. Freaking turd, man. Freaking Tyranid turd, man. Valentyne, I don't think would use a story point on this. I think he's more, this is a transitional phase for him as opposed to a key critical moment.
Yeah. And I'm going to just roll it straight because it's like the split second. The only thing she thought about was sending Toby out. And then it's just her body.
Yep. Dig it.
Okay. 4 successes, 4 advantages.
1 success, 3 threat.
Okay. Great. So I think what I'm going to say then is because you both succeed on your check, you're able to land without drawing the attention outside. That said, it's enough of a hard drop that there is definitely that like horrible moment of a bunch of the nearby Tyranids stopping and kind of being on that kind of alert thing. So unfortunately, the people above you will have to hold out for an extra round, is I think how we're going to spend that threat. But you were undetected. It's just if Clompy, McGee, and his bud drop down in the next few minutes, it's really gonna ruin your day. So horribly tense moment of standing there. I will actually say, Ryan, that Cainhurst isn't necessarily aware of where you are, and I'll explain why in a moment. But first, we're gonna go punch some Tyranids up top. Morgan and Valentyne, you are safe below. Meanwhile, Attikus, Cora, Eli, and I think we'll probably say Kotov is lowered down to Valentyne and Morgan. In that phase, I feel like he would have gone with you because you're doing a lot of Mr. President with him right now. We're just gonna put a hand on his shoulder and shove him ahead.
He's not going to help them in a fight. Like, no, we'll get him out of there.
And you still need him so you can make those backups of yourself for situations literally like this one. That would be great. So Eli and Attikus. After he pushes the big red button, the Tyranids are just swarming in. So basically, the way we're going to take this combat check, because we're kind of using swarm and minion rules, I'm also playing some pretty fast Calvin Ball with a combination of the Genesis book and the Xenomorph rules from the Alien Genesis conversion, which are The goal here isn't to have a bunch of individual melees. Instead, we're going to basically roll your combat check as like, in terms of holding the line, how successful are you at that? Or do you have to just fucking bolt and dive down the hole, which will ruin the stealth below, but that's what we're looking at. So Eli and Attikus, how are you fighting to kind of hold back the swarm?
I think Atticus's tactic remains the same. Occupy the hallway. It's a narrow choke point. He's got his shield up. He punches anything that gets too close while people with ranged weapons shoot over him, around him, that kind of thing.
Great. And Eli?
Oh yeah, now this is like Eli's kind of turned to the side, so he's kind of able to run forward and like over the back kind of is one-handed. Because he modified his combat shotgun to be one-handed. And then just like
actions.
Blasting.
Nice. Yeah, good for breaching actions.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Okay, cool beans. So let's go with Attikus first, because I think that will determine how much of a bad day Eli's having. So
or
Attikus,
if Eli saves the day.
Oh yeah, just like his day is worse if he doesn't have a big boy with a shield between him and Xenos threat. I think he's going to save the day either way. This is like those dreams where you're like, I wish I could have said that thing that one time, and now he just gets to say it with a shotgun. Like it's good. So Attikus, your difficulty is 2. I'm going to give you a setback just for the sheer volume of mass pressing into you. It's again one of those problems where, like as the Berserk poster behind you indicates, like you played a lot of Soulsborne games. You have a big weapon. Big weapons are great, but they are also slow. And like the Power Fist is so good at like mulching things, not great at like swiping back and forth in front of you. So you're getting a lot of crunch up against you, which just makes it a little bit less pleasant. So setback for that. We're not, you don't need to detect them. They're fine. They're there. All right. Yeah, and their defense is 0 because they're a swarm. Okay. Good for you. You're up against the aliens rules, not the alien rules, which is very good for you.
Yeah.
I think that's it for me. Oh, I'll give you one more boost for having practiced this explicitly a bunch.
I was going to ask if we still had our boarding action.
Yeah, I think I'd give that to you for this because it's the same tactic, so like it would make sense. Story points are 4 and 1 in your favor. I would argue, I know we do a lot of like, I don't know if the character would spend a story point here. I feel like Attikus defending the stealthy escape of Valentyne and Morgan probably calls for one, but it is ultimately your pool. So I will let you choose as you see fit.
Tom just wants his story points back.
I have one. I'm sitting on it. It's good. Also, I have a lot of Tyranids, so I'm not too
Sorry,
worried.
I hadn't baited you yet.
Oh, it's okay. It's good. It's not like you have a turn coming up immediately following this. It's good.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to save my story point for the person who is antagonizing the person running the game.
Yeah, she's gonna have a lot of setback dice. It's gonna be amazing.
And also, truly, I do feel that Attikus is like, this is the job. This is what I do. This is not like he fought on the front lines of a never-ending orc war. This is not that extraordinary for him.
To you, the day the Tyranids came was the worst day of your life. To me, it was Tuesday.
To me, they
different-
weren't orcs.
Yeah, it's different looking orcs. Yeah,
Honestly,
but it's a lot of hostiles that he gets to punch.
And realistically, it's probably good Marnie isn't here because she'd just be spending so much time trying to ascertain whether or not these were in fact orcs.
Yeah.
And she would probably think that this is bullshit. But
We all know Valentyne would have told her they were orcs. Way.
oh, yes, these are mountain orcs. They're slightly different.
Yeah.
All right. So with all that in mind, go ahead and take your swing.
Okay. 1 success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 advantages.
I mean, that sounds like something a story point could have helped quite a bit, but it's cool. Go ahead with your.
Could have been 2 successes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and what's the ridiculous damage number that is probably in the fucking double digits?
It is, yeah, 17. And then we would add 1 to that from the success. And let's throw some knockdown in there. Although, no, we're not treating this like regular combat. So the advantages can work a different way.
No, if you want to blow knockdown, like again, I'm treating this as like as a crush of bodies hits you, what generally happens to that crush of bodies. So, for example, if you want to throw knockdown in, I'm not going to be like, you push one of them over. That to me is more so like you do that thing that you see with like, it's usually in, hero movies where a bunch of people like pile up on a shield and you just shove them. It's the Captain America, like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
Shove.
So knockdown.
You can also gain like +1 defense or something to the end of your next turn.
Oh,
that's like 3 advantage.
There's some fun spendy options if you feel so inclined.
Sure. Since I'm the last human wall, I'll spend 3 on that, 2 on knockdown, and just have the 1 for fun. Just
funsies.
Yeah.
Just pass it back to Eli.
Yeah,
that's right. We can do that too. Yeah,
flick it over your shoulder like a cigarette. Okay, cool. So you absolutely pulp this incoming swarm. So just massive hit. Body parts flying over. What kind of attack is this? Is this just like a jab forward? What does crowd control look like for Attikus?
In the Matrix Reloaded where Neo's fighting a bunch of Smiths and there's one portion where he throws one Smith and he hits a bunch of other ones. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I think they even do the sound of a bowling ball hitting bowling pins.
Inexplicably.
Fucking wild. Anyway, it's that. It's just...
okay, canonically, no bowling ball sound, but yes.
One like a little too rowdy Tyranid getting too big for his britches. Attikus grabs and throws at the oncoming horde to just break their ranks.
Great. All right. So you smith a bunch of Tyranids, and Eli, you're like there with him. There's more coming, but you actually have a moment to breathe. So you can open fire on the next unit. It's a bit far away, or I think we can say, since he's so effectively murdered all of that, that if you want to kind of like ready over his shoulder for like the next swarm to come around the corner, the next wave, if you will, almost as though it's some kind of wave-based situation. We can give you, let's say, 2 boost for basically like 2 rounds of aiming. So up to.
That's cool. Okay. I'll take that.
Cool. So
he's not going to waste a shot.
Yeah. So that accounts for our quiet time downstairs. We've got another wave about to rush in, which is around the time that Valentyne. It does occur to you that it's odd that Cainhurst didn't immediately respond by sending everyone. But you realize he's distracted when all of the Tyranids in unison say in your voice, listen, we're all done here. We're going to need you to come around the side so we can board and get out of here right quick. After all, it is a great day for the Emperor, and we've got some fantastic information that we'd love to get aboard. So just bring the ship around, and we'll be there presently. After which she says, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I probably should have mentioned. I kind of needed to talk to you long enough to get a sense of your voice, but now that I've got that, I think, I'm going to borrow your ride if that's okay. Enjoy your old friends, Eli. I'll see you all in hell. And with a flap of his wings, he bursts upward through the ceiling into the deck above and begins to make his way towards the soon-to-dock Marnie's Song. Bring the ship around. Recording from Inquisitor Valentyne?
Oh, I don't like it.
So Morgan and Valentyne, you've dropped down beneath the Dream of Flight, Inquisitor Cainhurst's ship that your good friend, Gideon Kotov, has overloaded. The overall Space Hulk that you're in, the Mercy for the Pure, is experiencing just wave after wave of electrical discharge. And given the fragile nature of its systems, soon we're going to get to explodey panel town, like the climax of any great haunted ship in space movie. Eli and Attikus, you are holding the line very effectively. Attikus having just thrown a Tyranid through a bunch of other Tyranids. Well, I mean, Tyranid isn't exactly the right term, but you know what I mean. A bunch of Cainhurst's sort of hybrid monstrosities. You've just thrown one through a bunch of other ones to keep them at bay. The next wave is rapidly approaching before you can drop down to join Valentyne and Morgan. So before we cut to the Valentyne and Morgan, let's see what happens up top. Down below, you're having that horrible moment of you've landed, it's quiet, the creatures around you froze. They seem to be kind of getting back to patrol, and yet there is no Attikus or Eli to be found. So you're kind of... We had, plus Cainhurst himself just tactfully exited stage up through the ceiling and has landed above to catch his ride, which is rapidly approaching. So Attikus and Eli, you are aiming, so you've got like a good kind of free round on this as they come along. So I think we're going to do the inverse of what we previously did, where we had Attikus take the attack, and then we would see what happens with Eli. I think we're going to do the opposite here, because you're over his shoulder, kind of Furiosa style. Like if you can hold them at bay, he might not even need to punch. So let's see how that goes. This is a pretty hot moment for Eli. This is a lot of past coming to bear. What's going through his head right now? Is he just focused on the task and the thinking comes later, or do you have like stuff running through your head as you're shooting?
Part of what made Eli so good in his old job was the ability to focus on the task at hand, while, also being able to see what he's doing in context of everything around him. So definitely while all the talking was going on, and part of the reason why he was getting very frustrated with all the talking is that he's thinking like, well, shit, do I secretly have like Tyranid like genes in me that I'm unaware of? I need to get that the fuck checked out. But at the same time, he's not going to forget about that. It's not like if he stops thinking about it, he just like might forget about that later. So he's able to just be like, not important right now. What is important is getting out of the situation and surviving long enough to find an answer.
Great. Love that. Okay, so with that focus, Tyranids spill over like a wave, spill over the corpses of their fallen foes, and sure enough, you do see some uniforms from your former crew amongst them. It does seem that in giving the order to vent the ship, it basically like cleared out the people long enough for the recovery crew to come in and get all the Xenos material. It's not like your crew was alive when Cainhurst picked them up, but he's definitely repurposed a lot of their biomass for his experiments.
I did my job.
Well, do it again. So this is going to be range 3 because they're like coming through. This is like a wave coming from distance. They're not like right up in your grill.
Okay.
I think you get your 2 boost for aiming. You get an additional boost from the handover from Attikus.
Sorry, that's 3 difficulty then?
Yes. Sorry,
okay.
3 difficulty.
Yep. And then I have my 2 boost, yeah.
You have 2 boost plus 1. That's an advantage pass forward from Attikus. I think it'd be safe to give you a boost for boarding actions. This is very, very comfortably your jam. Yeah. How... I think I know the answer to this, but how into getting out of here is Eli? Like, are you thinking about that gap behind you that you want to go down, or are you just like, we're going to do this till we don't need to do this no more, and then we can go down the hole?
No, because they all got to get out the hole. So,
but is it? I guess what I'm asking is like, is it enough to warrant a setback because you're distracted by I want to be there, or is it just you're aware of it?
This is like we'll go there that when appropriate and not a moment before.
No setback from that. I am going to add 1 setback just from the sheer amount of people. You're using a shotgun, which is actually like very handy for this, but the danger to a spread of fire is that you can like do a little damage to a lot of things, which is both good and bad in this case because there's just so many that you could easily just kind of like spray shot. If each of them takes like a quarter of the hit, then they're all going to keep coming. So that's that. I'm not going to spend a story point on this. I only have the one. Yee. But Cainhurst is gone, so he like this is very much like they almost seem like they're on autopilot at this point, which is kind of a rip and tear until it is done philosophy. You know,
I'm just gonna roll.
Dig it.
4 successes, baby.
Ooh, fuck yeah! What's the damage on your Shogun there?
8.
8. Hot damn! And 4 successes.
Yep.
All right. Laura, tell me about Eli slaughtering Xenos threat with his shotgun.
It's kind of amazing. It's like for a moment he stops running and just takes aim and just like waits for the perfect moment of like alignment of these creatures to like enter the perfect spread for like maximal effective shot. And it's just cold. It's calculating. This is a killer doing this. And he just takes them down.
So you adjust your aim slightly and fire. The blast rips through kind of like half the face off of one of them, but like knocks the legs out from another one, who in turn like trips a bunch of the other ones, allowing you to kind of just like fire in the pile a couple more shots, buying you and Attikus the necessary time to jump down. A question for you, Attikus. Your shield can collapse, which is great, but it could also possibly stop up the gap behind you. Do you take the shield or do you jam it in the hole?
I bring the shield with me.
Okay.
Yeah, this thing's going to explode, so I'm not worried about the ones that are left in here. What I might do is, as I cross the threshold of the doorway between the hallway and the bridge, is there any kind of emergency compartmentalization where these doors would shut?
Unfortunately, at this point, with the sealing of the ship and the overload, the mechanical systems are done. Like things are just frying and fritzing around you.
All right, then it's just out through the hole.
Okay. Valentyne and Morgan, you are in the careful when to run, when to stay zone beneath the ship. How are you approaching your escape vector?
Valentyne's watching what's happening around them, and at the same time, he is typing on his data pad to be able to ask questions of the 2 people next to him. Morgan, he asks if Toby can survive in vacuum. And Kotov, he asks if it's possible to choose the exact moment the ship explodes and speed it up, or if it's just on a timer, and like how long the timer is.
Morgan?
That is a great question. I actually don't know I'm not sure if the engine that he's even running on would work outside of an atmosphere. I
think I would probably say like you could launch Toby like a shot into space.
Right.
But I would assume the way I've been thinking of it at least is like the thruster is really just enable the wings to like move the bird. Because otherwise like you wouldn't have a bird, right? So I suspect, honestly, Toby and Cainhurst have the same problem, wings in space.
So then it's just a silent shake of the head to the data pad.
Valentyne's response is to tell you to have Toby grab Eugene and follow Cainhurst.
All right.
Because what Valentyne knows is Eugene is a short-range Vox caster, so he can start sending warnings on like a private channel to the ship. It'll be at the last second. It'll be hitting them as they try to land, but it's better than nothing. To be like, not me, don't let it on. If you do, blow yourselves up. It's like that. It's just like, hey, it's good to speak with you. Unfortunately, someone's impersonating my voice. If they can't give you my entire Rosette number, I'm going to require you to destroy the ship when they board. And then it's just that looping on the private channel, hopefully chasing them. He'll obviously trigger that to start. If Toby gets close, he doesn't want to give advance warning to get blocked out or whatever.
Yeah, there's general, like you can, now that you're aware of it, there is a blanket of jamming occurring just around you. There's enough tech in that lab to just like black out comms. But with a short range Voxcaster, there's a chance, slim, but a chance.
That's why, his thought is like if they can get into the same landing bay, they may be able to get a warning in like 10 seconds before the door opens.
Yeah.
Like it's a faint hope, but better than
it's honestly it's a good play. It's worth having for sure. Morgan, I know you've got a bunch of stuff that jacks this up, but I'm going to need a tech use check to see honestly how capable Toby is in this wave of interference once he gets kind of out of close range from you.
Right, exactly. Because once he is out of close range to her, he would be operating like on his own through his own programming of like the last thing she told him to do, basically. Yeah.
So this one is going to be a difficulty of 4. Cainhurst is easy to follow because he's huge, but there's a heavy jamming signal and he's getting further and further away from you. So we'll do that. I'll give a boost for Eugene. I feel like Eugene is probably able to provide limited support, but at least it's something.
He's also obvious and not resisting.
Yeah. And I'm going to spend a story point to jack this up a bit.
Okay. And then, man, it's a very tight. The likelihood of success is not high, so I think I will also use a story point just because. There
goes my Hawaii 5-0 joke, but that's okay. I'll mourn it my own time.
Yeah, it's.
I should draw a box.
It's tight. It's very tight. And I get an extra boost because I have a mind impulse unit that is for Toby, so that I will figure in.
Yep.
All right. Ooh, right. Oh, 1 threat. That's it.
1 threat. Okay. So Toby grabs Eugene and takes off, and like you're watching Toby's perspective as he takes flight, and just like immediately a lasgun shot pings off the side of Toby, and he kind of like pinwheels in and out and is basically just stuck dodging fire. Neither like no damage because lasguns, am I right? Hit with a flashlight, but definitely enough to be like, oh shit, like can't fly into active fire. And of course there are Tyranids upstairs too, which is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But they are gone, which leaves Kotov, who turns to you, Valentyne, and just says, look, I just set it to overload all the systems. It's less a self-destruct and more of just a, when there's too much energy, parts of the ship will just start breaking off and eventually the whole thing will splinter. There's just not enough power to, blow the fucking thing open, but it'll get there. Unfortunately, I don't think we can speed it up any. It's going to go when it goes, and it's on its way.
Okay. For Valentyne, that means he can't set this off. He can't do anything clever. Everything has basically been a problem, but he knows where his ship would be coming in, which means there's no more actual time to wait. So this is now time where he has to get to the landing bay as quickly as possible. If he has everybody, it's easier to punch through, but also everybody can block them in one way. So I think he's going to tell Morgan that they just need to run back the way they came, shooting from the hip, in the hope they can draw attention, and then that attention will just get hit in the ass with Attikus, Cora, and Eli.
All right.
Hopefully allowing a breakthrough to be more effective than if all of us tried to hit all of the Tyranids at the same time.
Gotcha. So to cut out and under, as you're describing, Valentyne, I think what I'm going to want is combat rolls from you and Morgan. To see, again, similar to what we saw earlier, this isn't like a one-on-one combat thing as much as a how effective are you against your objective of moving forward. So you mentioned shooting from the hip. Morgan, what's shooting from the...
If they're close enough that we're having to battle through the horde, Valentyne will stick to the power sword, because then he can let Morgan shoot from the hip, and it's just anybody who's between him and door, just power sword. Just
and as I said, you will have a decent, like... You'll be able to carve a pretty decent dent into this because they're swarming up onto the ship. Like they're digging for they're digging under the windscreen. So there are certainly people around, but it's not a like a steady wall. It's a
and
smattering.
Valentyne knowing Cainhurst left means these are also going to be less directly controlled, which is great because it's a lot easier to fight drones who are fighting on like back order than on a malicious entity directly controlling them.
Absolutely true. Okay, so
And
Valentyne
Morgan,
swinging the sword.
Yeah, Morgan would obviously cannot hip fire a sniper rifle, but she does have her little sidearm, which unfortunately has to be reloaded between shots, but she can definitely get a shot off, and then in between, while Valentyne is hitting things, could reload it. So,
What, you don't want to no-scope it like I've seen in the YouTube videos? It's just got an aimbot hidden in there somewhere. Knowing that's true, would Valentyne, would you just like flipper your pistol?
Yeah, he'd give her the bolt pistol rather than her having to worry about something tinier. That's not going to help against fucking Tyranids. So bolt pistol it is.
oh yeah,
I also just think like I love moments where someone, usually when a camera's spinning around them, like throws a weapon to someone else mid fight.
hell yeah.
It's one of like the few things the Harley Quinn movie did like spectacularly well was like a roller derby fight where they're just constantly like throwing each other shit, including hair ties, which was like aces. So I just love the idea of like drawing the sword, underhanding the gun, and just Morgan like.
I think it's drawing the sword and then like almost Wild West spinning the bolt pistol around, so it's just handle first to you, Morgan, and he just says, "Well, it appears the time for planning is over and cleverness is done. Now it's just time for the killing."
First time for everything, she says, racking this bolt pistol.
Well, you know what I'll say? Nobody forgets their first. And then he just fucking books it out of there. Like, it's just power sword ignites with the refractor field, and he's ready to just fuck shit up.
Great.
Gunning people down.
Okay, so let's get them rolls.
I know standard melee is 2. Is it different for this one, Tom?
No, it's going to be standard melee, but I am going to give you like additional setback for running.
Sure.
But it's a beautiful thing about Genesis. They're like, hey, if you're that close, it's just what it is. So yeah, for you, Ryan, 2 difficulty. I'm going to give you 2 setback for the run and gun. I don't think Valentyne is built for like, fucking running through like your shinobi. Like it's just not your standard tactic.
Now my tempered will removes setback from the disoriented condition. Would this
not
fall
this
into
time,
that?
man? You've read that bonus train plenty. But no, in this case, it's not that you're disoriented. It's just fucking hard to swing a sword effectively while sprinting at full speed. You can hit things, but like not necessarily effectively. So that's 2 setback for that. I will, however, give you a boost for just, for lack of a better term, crush of bodies. It is easier to hit than it is to miss. It's just whether or not you're effective in those hits.
Yeah, this is a little. What is it? Cella's Glory is a little more designed for this than a Power Fist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Morgan, we're gonna say, I'm gonna give you. Honestly, no, it's too difficult. You're firing at very close range.
Yeah.
Setback for an unfamiliar weapon.
Okay.
And then similarly, I think 2 setback for running and gunning. You're a stealthy Amy lady, and I don't think like sprinting. I mean, firing a pistol is bad in the best of times, but running while firing a pistol is like good luck.
Yeah. Can I vote for a boost for each of us because I had 4 advantages on my sneaking roll that we didn't do anything with?
Yep. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that action.
And then Morgan is a crack shot, so can I drop one of those?
Fucking
setback?
yeah, man! You can drop both of those setbacks. I think for crack
Hell
shot. I wasn't
yeah.
aware of that. Is the flavor just drop one?
It's
one
just drop
setback?
one. Yeah.
Narratively, I think I would say you can drop both because if you're a crack shot, it really doesn't make sense to be that like just pretend you're like I forgot how to do this. Also, it's a bolt pistol, so. You know what I say about like barns and shotguns? Like if you can hit any flesh, that thing is probably going to die horribly. So cool. All right, I dig that. In terms of story points, we're not at Hawaii 5-0. We're at 4-1, like a bunch of fucking chumps. But I'm not going to spend.
I'm going to use one. Valentyne is a functional sociopath who's decided it's killing time. There is no hesitation in this man. This is just desperate, all in. It's for the Emperor, literally.
Hell yeah. All right, I'm gonna roll it straight. We're just gonna see how we do with this gun.
1 success and 4 advantage.
And I got 2 success and 3 advantage.
Okay, I hesitate to ask. What's the damage on a bolt pistol?
The base is 10.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta stop letting you guys fight minion swarms.
Yeah.
It's just like they got nothing. They got no hope against that.
Yeah, it's a bolt weapon. They're designed to kill minion swarms, and then we have to fight a giant Tyranid man. None of us are.
No, you don't have to fight. Oh, yeah, you do have to fight a giant Tyranid man. That's true. Okay, great. And Ryan, what's the damage on the sword?
The damage on the sword is 10. So for me, it'll jump to 11. It has breach 2, so we basically say that's pierce 2. And the bolt pistol is damage 10. It's also pierce 2 and vicious 2. And the crit is 2. So
Big boomies.
Big boomies.
Wait, crit is 2?
Yeah.
Does that mean I can crit with it?
Yes, you can.
If it's not already dead?
Yeah, Tom, I have a crit of 2 on the sword and I have 4 advantage, so I would like to crit this swarm of assholes twice. I think he's just fucking like Valentyne, if you watch this in slow, like at speed, it just looks like tremendous ultra violence as he's going through. But if you slow it down, Valentyne is practically dancing. It's just every slash is into another slash as he's on his way through. And he's used to a chain sword. So he's used to having to like hack and lean in. And this is just the first time he's been able to use Sella's Glory in like a true meant to be a power sword combat. He may as well just be waving his arm. These people are just paper in between him and where he's going. So he's just delighted with how this is progressing with this sword. Just a weird moment of joy of just getting to absolutely rage-filled murder machine in the Emperor's name. This is where he'd want to be if he didn't have a job he had to fucking do.
And Morgan, what does this shoosting look like as you follow?
Yeah, it's definitely staying very close to Valentyne because she's so nimble. It's like kind of to the back of his shoulder as he's turning. She's just kind of keeping her shoulder near his and turning with him and just firing off as they turn into the crowd of just exploding heads. And she just has the whole thing cradled in her inner arm and just firing off shots.
We've been playing enough Dark Tide that I have very good visual references for most of this right now. So like aces all the way down.
I was gonna say this is Morgan and Valentyne : Parabellum. Just fucking shit up John Wick
your
style.
gun kata are just really on point. Amazing. Okay, so a very important question though to follow this up with is Del, how good is Morgan's singing voice? Does she know?
I don't think Morgan even knows how to sing.
Right. So the only piece of this delicate dance of whirling destruction that feels vaguely out of place is this song that is aggravating you, Morgan, as you go. And like there's many great qualities to Valentyne, one of which is how good he apparently is with this power sword. But the fact that he's always singing is just like kind of frustrating. It's not quite throwing off your aim because you rolled really high, but like almost until you realize that he's not singing, you're singing. And for some reason, you're just really fixated on not worrying and being happy. And you're singing some doo-doo-doos in the meantime, and you're just kind of humming along. And you know, as the sound around you almost seems to deaden a bit, like you've swapped your mic settings to like turn down game volume, turned up chat volume, and yeah, just like it's real nice. It's just a nice day. It's just like Valentyne trusted you with the gun. You're making progress. You're cutting through these Tyranids, getting small vengeance on Cainhurst. It's good. It's good. You really don't need to worry. You can just be happy. And the two of you clear a path of destruction away from the ship. Meanwhile, Attikus, Eli, and Cora, you drop down through the bolt hole to just see like.
I want to be clear. Eli goes head first and does like a safety roll when he hits the ground.
I just like to imagine like the slightly older man, like that comes with that, where it's like he's still very good at it and does it perfectly, but like it's just not as easy as it once was.
If this is a more casual moment, he'd look back at Attikus and be like, "Never get old."
Getting too old for this ship. How does Attikus drop down?
Attikus, being the last one, kind of pinballs around the shaft of this bolt hole and just falls out on his back and scrambles up to his feet.
Great. Cora is just pouring fire with her gun like back up into the hole. So like stops as you pinball out, then land at her feet, gives you just like a quick look of like the fuck, and then is just back up to.
She looks at me to say the fuck. He said, "Keep firing!" Just like immediately.
And she just like, I don't understand you, Hereticus, and she just like starts firing back up into the hole. As Eli and Attikus, you begin to make your way out. So obviously now that Valentyne and Morgan are drawing fire by sprinting, you have a clear path behind them. Obviously things are starting to chase them. What do you do?
Attikus is off. Attikus is running.
Okay. So just following in their wake?
Following in their wake, but also maintaining the wake, so to speak. If anything starts to close in behind them, he's going to, while running, sort of like a linebacker defending a receiver as they run down the field. Amazing.
Yeah. I fucking love the mental image of this like balletic, a little bit like that gunfight in the most recent James Bond film with him and Attikus, where it's just like perfect unison, like John Wick style murder rampage, and behind them just like Attikus running, just fucking knocking people aside in the wake is there's something really nice, but like beautiful poetry, and then just a fucking hammer coming in behind.
The camera's above seeing it happens, then it just pans over, you see the zombie horde after them, pans down further, and you just see Attikus hurling them into the air over it, just in the middle of this horde.
Some little four-legged creepy guy, running along, and then just out of frame, a hand presses from the top of his head just into the floor.
Amazing.
Attikus running like a gorilla, just knuckles on the ground, just power fist, leg, power fist, leg, power fist, leg.
It's just like in any Marvel film when they pan back from whatever the Hulk is doing, and there's just like people flying. Yeah. It's like you can't see him, just a crowd and just wanting destruction. Okay, amazing. And Eli, I assume run and gun is still the name of the game for you?
Oh yeah, except now he's got both his combat shotgun in his left hand and his chain axe in the right hand. So he's just like shooting, and then anyone getting too close, it's just axe, just like fucking swinging it.
All right, so I think I'll take a melee roll from both of you then,
Sure.
Because I feel like we'll just count that. We'll give you a boost, Laura, to your melee to account for the shotgun, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But given that the action of swinging an axe is taking the majority of your motion, but it's also better at keeping things at bay.
Well, it's like, axe, and then it kind of lodges in someone for a sec. He takes that stillness to shoot the guy behind. Like, there's a lot of that.
I love the Evil Dead films so deeply that like any kind of a weapon with teeth and a shotgun scenario I've considered ad nauseum. So like, I get it. Yes, I agree.
Cool.
This is your boomstick. Like, I get it. Okay, so let's take combat checks from both of you. 2 difficulty, 2 setback for running while doing it. Yeah. Attikus, I'm going to give you a boost for running while doing it as well, in that it's harder to be accurate, but also you are just like a wrecking ball. So just the mere fact of you running is also helpful. Laura, you can take your boost from the shotgun as well. And I'll give you both a boost for the wake that Valentyne and Morgan have made for you. It's distracted the horde slightly, and it's also made enough space that you can kind of like, it's not like you're pushing through Jello to get into this. You're mopping up right? You're just like keeping the stragglers away, which is actually a better position to be in.
Sweet. Okay, I'm good to roll.
Me too.
Cool.
3 successes, 4 advantages.
Nice.
My Chain Axe has Pierce 1 and Vicious 4, which is activated as well.
All right.
Just
I
saying.
only got 5 advantages, and then also a success and a triumph.
Tyler, I'm so sorry, man. I know how you live for these Attikus moments, and with a shit roll like that, I don't know what you're gonna do. Okay, so with all of that, I want to hear what you're both doing, but I think Tyler will say that the triumph gets the entire group to that emergency door, and because you've got your big boy arm enough that you can kind of like slam it behind you to buy time to get upstairs. So Laura and Tyler, can you describe kind of like what we've heard, what the Valentyne Morgan gun kata situation is? What's the Attikus and Eli mop-up crew look like?
I think for Attikus, the triumph might manifest in the form of punching out one of the legs of the landing gear of the Dream of Flight, so that it basically just rocks over to one side and like just the bulkiness of the ship itself.
Yeah.
Jostling and rocking all of its occupants, but also any Tyranids running outside along the ship just get squashed as it lists over to one side. And I think that's what maintains our wake for us a little bit. And then just in running, it is just that like everything is like team oriented for Attikus, because it is all about we're a unit, we're together. Just as long as the person in the foxhole with you is doing their job and you're doing your job, we'll be fine. So it's very much a football thing of just anyone who looks like they're closing in behind the Inquisitor and Morgan just gets splattered as he's running. Yeah, just gets the big hand. And he's trying to keep the pace with them. Yeah.
Just think of that big hand bit from Jackass, but like power fist and the people exploding.
These Tyranids are trying to order coffees and it's not happening.
Yeah, and I'd say Valentyne and Morgan, as we see them coming in behind us, when we get to that door, we just turn around to hold the door. Like that's the point where with them coming in.
It's like the
through.
big, like there's like the massive one that opens super slowly, and then there's like the small side ones. So it's one of those that you can.
Yeah,
secure.
the one we came in that we left like one body width open. We're gonna hold that door because we can do that.
Great. And Eli, as linebacker Attikus does his thing, what's your situation looking like?
He's just keeping anything that's like seems to be coming up quick from the rear. He's just fully taken out. So it's like, it'll be chain axe to the neck, doesn't go through. He'll literally push the guy into someone else, shoot that guy with this.
Hell yeah.
With the combat shotgun, literally booting people off of his axe. Just making sure no one sneaks up on him,
This really, like, there are a few, I mean, it's not in a tiny hallway, but like there are a few combat scenarios that Eli is more like specifically built for than just like mass tide of close combatants.
Oh, yeah.
Mindlessly charging.
Like he is in a state of flow right now.
It's the Tetris effect, but for murder.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So all of you managed to fight your way back to the door. You're able to like slam and secure the door, just like drag a couple of those cryogenic pods in that were holding all the samples and biomass that he needed. And you hear just like a slam of bodies against it, but like really they're not, without direct oversight from Cainhurst, they're not great at, like, they're not raptors who know how to open doors. There's a lot of like clawing at them, like they're Freddy during most of our recording sessions, just desperately trying to get in, just desperately trying to get at those sweet humans on the other side. So you do have a moment to like catch your breath. I know you're not gonna like stop and have a fucking conversation or make a campfire, but you do have just a moment to group up before. I think someone mentioned fighting a giant Tyranid man, and like, I don't know, it seems like a thing that could happen. So you can consider this the save point before the boss fight, if you will, and you will. So is there anything you say or do in preparation before you head above deck to the Sanctuary Gardens to face Cainhurst and your destiny?
Valentyne will take his bolt pistol back and just kind of reload it, clear the slide, get his shit back together, and just say to everyone else, all right, so it's clear that Cainhurst needs to die, and he can't be allowed to leave. So our first priority is his death. Our second is our own survival. If any of us do die, myself included, and the head is somewhat intact, let's all hang on to it and see what Kotov can do for us.
A lot. It'll be fun.
Fantastic. I refuse to lose any of you on this side mission. If you die, I will be tremendously disappointed in you, and so will the Emperor. So instead, let's succeed, let's be friendly, and all let's be as cheerful as Morgan. Also, Morgan, I'm worried you've been corrupted by some psycho business. Please stay on top of yourself. If you start to go completely crazy, I'd rather not have to kill you. Any questions?
No question, sir. It's about time we engage in a good bit of sport.
Let's complete the mission. Let's kill that fucker and get out.
Agreed.
All right, that all sounds good to me. Let's keep moving. If anyone has an additional weaker weapon, please give it to Kotov. He's functionally unarmed, and at this point, that seems unwise. Cora, look after Kotov. Everyone else, let's go commit a homicide for the Emperor. A true gift from him to us. And then he's... No, go for it.
Handing a weapon to Kotov, Attikus says,
Here you are. Don't even think of trying to use it on us, or I will be quite upset.
and he hands him Attikus's revolver, which fires regular rounds and can fire I think they're called dum-dum rounds. They're really good on unarmored enemies.
Interesting. Yeah. So he'll kind of like immediately check the chamber in the way that truly only a heretical person is just like, oh, cool. What kind of horrible black market shit does this have? And he'll just immediately, I think, swap in, alternate the rounds, given that we're not really sure what the armor versus fleshy Tyranid situation upstairs is going to be. So he just kind of quickly changes those while like pushing a goggle back up into his head. And just kind of like looks at you with a smirk you don't care for.
Yeah, immediately. Just,
and don't muck about with that. I want that gun back in the way it was given to you.
Oh, trust me, I treat toys very, very gently. It's it's patience you should be more worried about. And then
I don't have any patience for you, mister.
That's good. I like that. I like you, Attikus.
Attikus doesn't get it.
Now, just to be clear, before we all run, our tactical plan is get Attikus close, let Attikus punch him. If that doesn't work, then it's get me close to stab him. If that doesn't work, vent the atmosphere probably, as I don't think any of the rest of you can get through his hide, but I could be wrong. So, prove me wrong. Break? He's just going to turn and start booking it.
Morgan, what's your sniper rifle situation for something like this? Like, is your rifle good v giant Tyranid threats, or is it just a punch through squishy humans kind of situation?
It's just a regular sniper rifle, so I think in this situation she would be looking for weaknesses or trying to shoot out eyes or things like that, because I don't know that it's going to get through Tyranid carapace. That's not what it's built for, but
well, the good news is that there are plenty of fleshy bits, because he's not like, a Carnifex.
Did see a face
proper. There's fleshy bits. He's had to do some inventive stitching. There's definitely like more than enough to hit. It's just a matter of like, it may not be the most effective thing if you hit like what used to be part of a shoulder, but please don't feel like any of you can't damage this thing, because you 100% can. It's just less effective than like the Pierce situation. So with that, you group up, you head up the ladder, sort of above deck. You come out on the bridge, and up here panels are like all the screens are cracked. And legitimately, like you can see the because there was so much energy already being fed up into this place. You can definitely see like there are alarm claxons blaring up here. You can smell electrical fire in the air from cables and things that are starting to burn through in the walls. Of happy note, there is absolutely no after effect or burn in from the mark of chaos that was on the wall. It doesn't respond in any way like the thing you found downstairs. So, small wins. And
a quick question.
Yeah.
Will we be able to know, like, I don't know if Kotov can tell us or not, but will we know when the ship has self-destructed?
No, because what he basically did was just set up a feedback loop to pulse systems that shouldn't be pulsed.
Okay.
So basically, at some point, one of these is going to be too much and is going to start really legitimately breaking things. But he's basically just set systems that were on like a nice steady charge to just receive random pulses of energy, and it's really fucking up all the old janky electronics and connectors. So like what he can guarantee is that it will like blow the ship apart. And soon it's just like it's unfortunately not like as clean as the countdown has started.
Sure.
That said, you will be able to tell based on I know earlier I was joking about the end of action movies where everything explodes for no reason. Here it explodes for a very good reason, which is that it's getting pulsed by large amounts of energy. Also, presumably, whenever the Dream of Flight goes up downstairs, that will speed things along a little bit because it is at the core of this already structurally.
That's what
thing.
Okay.
So if that goes, you got a Titanic situation where the ship will split and things will be bad.
Cool, but bad.
Cool.
Well, listen, a lot of doors open and shut. We got our own oxygen. We have grav boots. Those are a future problem. Right now, big Tyranid.
Yeah. So speaking of present problems, the four of you with your two companions step out, sort of out of the bridge into the sanctuary gardens to find like essentially, there's small patrols of Tyranids kind of around. And Cainhurst, just kind of like if he had a watch, he would be staring at his wrist, like impatiently waiting for Grimly to bring the ship around. And just kind of like as you all emerge from the bridge, just kind of like turning his head a little bit and just kind of an exhausted sigh and just, you guys really would have done me a solid if you just died downstairs, but honestly, it'll just be nice to test out all the advantages, huh? And with that, just like unfurls the wings, claws come out. This time, the mouth does scream, and the mandibles spread. The jaw kind of almost dislocates, and just like a horrific scream fills the room, echoed by all the various Tyranid monsters around him. And then his chest mouth just says, "I've always wanted to do that." And combat begins.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Eli Sharp, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Morgan Rawls, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com, DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: the Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald. Logan, Fire Unfriendly. Grandma Likes D&D. Alan, Stabby Stranger. Glitch Trick. Roman Brown. Spot Allen. Flynn1138. Alarain Okapi. OMG, it's Big Nick. D&D and Things. Norma Byers. Schrodinger's Pepper. Guy Edwards. Flea Unit. Madre de Gatos. Lady Maiden. Melissa Rain. Nithrian. Garbo Ape. Locke. Sam Schaefer. And Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumbdumbdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.